Good morning. It's cold. Brr. Okay. You want to hear my crazy ass dreams? Alright, so this dream I had, I just remember pretty much one long dream. And it was set out in the place I'm now. So the scenery was just this massive high desert type of place. And for some reason, it was set in Russia. I don't know if there are crazy awesome deserts like this in Russia, but that's what my dream was. And the first part of the dream, I was a middle-aged, slightly overweight Mexican man. And I was going to work. And I was going to this, I worked at this factory type place. I don't know what I made, but there was this square, blocky building out in the middle of this desert. And it was very plain, just this gray block. And went there, went in the building, and as I went in, it was very dark. It was almost like people hadn't gotten there for work yet. And I stepped in, and the first person I saw was Crazy Bill. I don't know, but in my head I was like, hey Crazy Bill, what's up? You're here early. And Crazy Bill was like, he had his arms full of something. He was doing something, and like he was in the shadow, and he just had this like big giant smile on his face, and he acknowledged my presence and was like, hey, what's up? And my character kind of made small talk with him, and Crazy Bill just responded by facial expressions and nods or shaking his head. And he stayed up there. It was obvious, though I don't know why, but it was obvious to my character that Crazy Bill was up to something. So I was just like, okay, Crazy Bill, you go ahead and do whatever you're doing before you clock in. I'm gonna get to work. So the way you get into this building, you go through a normal door, and then you're on this platform, like way above everything, and then you have to go down a ladder to the main floor. And the floor is just this wide open concrete floor, and there's this rather cartoonish conveyor belt that goes all over the place, and then it disappears into the wall. I just like casually climb down, and I notice a couple of other people milling about, and there's this one old white guy who's like the foreman or something, and he looks exactly like the bad guy from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, only he wasn't cartoon. And so he's just like kind of frowning everyone, checking things off on his clipboard and scowling at people. And there isn't much work going on yet at this point. I don't know, factory just hasn't opened or something. Let's see what happens next. Oh yeah, so some kind of conversation goes on, and then the foreman, someone hands him this big bag. It's like this, just like this white burlap sack. And it's full of something that looks like marbles or something. And he makes some kind of an announcement, and then he gets a hammer and he hits the bag with it. And these like little BBs of molten metal start exploding from the bag, which is like projectile little missiles. And it's going out, and it's like, as soon as he hits it, it causes some kind of friction reaction, and they shoot out, and as they're shooting out, they melt into hot metal, and they splatter on things. They kill employees. They're setting shit on fire. Because it occurs to me that it's not communicated, but I get this information because, I don't know, dream logic. But the job is finished. Whatever we were manufacturing it's finished. And that guy's job, the foreman's job, is now to kill everybody, kill all the employees, burn down the building, and destroy the evidence. And he was just like, sorry, so by the way, we hired you to kill you because this is a secret project that no one can know about. So I was like, oh fuck. I scramble up the ladder, and he's just like killing everyone, burning down the building, and he turns around to leave, and then he's like, oh fuck, one of the employees got away. After him. Sorry. Excuse me. So he starts trying to go up the ladder rungs, and I'm like kicking him and trying to get him to fall down the ladder, and I get onto the platform, and Crazy Bill comes to my rescue. This motherfucker has an armful of 9 hammers. For some reason, I think it's 9 hammers. I'm very sure about this number, although, like, he had a whole armful of hammers. It looked a lot more than 9. Whatever. But I'm like, Crazy Bill, you have 9 hammers. Excellent. So he takes hammers and he starts chucking them at people and hitting them, and they're like, ah, I'm dead now. And he takes a hammer and he starts smashing the bad guy's fingers trying to get up the ladder. And he falls off, and then I start breaking the ladder rung so no one else can climb up and save themselves. And then I was like, thanks, Crazy Bill. And Crazy Bill was like, hey, yeah. And then I walked out the building and went into the next part of the dream. And the next part of the dream was in the same dream world, same place, only it wasn't this building. Like, I continued on, and I lost that dream character, so I was no longer a middle-aged Mexican working man. I was just me. And we were attending some sort of award ceremony. And I walked, it was at nighttime, so I walked through the desert, and I entered this big, large, like, very ominous-looking single-story building. And there was these massive banquet hall tables covered with white tablecloths and lots of, like, table centerpieces, lots of food, lots of forks clinking on plates and talking. And this award ceremony was for this incredible book that these 3 old women wrote. That they were sisters, and they had just touched the lives of, like, millions of people. And I got to sit right next to them. I was some sort of guest of honor or something. And these old ladies were rather large. They weren't necessarily obese. They were a little bit overweight, like a nice grandma ought to be, but they were just large. She was probably 7 feet tall, and so were her sisters. And she was wearing they were all wearing these weird matching jogging suits. They were made out of sweater material, and the one I remember the most, it was this bright fuchsia purplish color, and it was a sweater and sweatpants, and it had a teddy bear riding like a rocking chair horse, and there's confetti, like rainbow confetti all over it, and there was lace at the cuffs and at the collar. It was really cute. And she was kind of talking to me. She kept on, like, poking and prodding me, and, like, asking me if I was eating or just grandma stuff. And then I noticed sitting across from us was, well, like, El Presidente. He was the king or the president of whatever, like, Russian-esque land desert place we were at. And it was Satan. And he was tall, dark, and handsome. He was tall, not skinny, but definitely not broad. Satan kind of had a yoga body. Maybe Satan does hot yoga down there. And he had dark hair. It was kind of spiky with gel, and the most prominent feature was, so he had, like, kind of like olive colored skin, but it wasn't dark by any means. And across here, this skin was black. It was black. And then in the border between this black streak of skin and his white skin, it was, like, dappled and spotted. And then he had some, like, a few black spots here and there. And his pupils were diamond shaped, but at the apex of each point, it was a circle. It was very interesting. And I was looking into his strange ass pupils like, Ma, whoa, I should not be offended or scared because he doesn't seem like such a bad guy, and that's just Satan after all. And if I act scared, he might be embarrassed about his weird ass pupils, so I'll just be chill. And I kind of have a conversation with him, just casual dinner conversation stuff. And then the dinner ends, and it's time for like tea and coffee and dessert after dinner. And the award banquet is over. Everyone goes away except for like the main people. The three old lady sisters go somewhere special. By the way, they are like the three sisters of hell, I guess. I don't know, but they go somewhere special, and then it is a more intimate audience with Satan, and then the elite of this country. Of course, they were here for this award ceremony, and now they are the private audience of Satan and each other. They're there to be fancy together. And so there's probably 15 or 20 people. Everyone's drinking their tea and their coffee, and then Satan announces that, all right, it is time for everybody to make a sacrifice. And he kind of sets up this, I don't remember the exact words he uses, but he announces that everyone has to make an extreme sacrifice. He tells them that it's time. He doesn't use the word human sacrifice, but he kind of implies that it must be a great sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice. Ooh. And so everyone starts kind of eyeballing each other on the low, kind of like picking out their human sacrifice. And he's waiting, we're all waiting, everything gets really intense because he's about to like give us the go. And he's like, and go. And just scramble. You hear like plates drop and everything just gets set down and chairs scooch and everyone's scrambling because, well, you gotta get your sacrifice before you turn into one. And so people are kind of like fighting with each other, chasing each other, and Satan's sitting back kind of enjoying the chaos. And I'm sitting there like, because I came alone, I'm like, what am I going to sacrifice? I'm looking at things, I'm kind of like, watching the chaos happen, watching people like tackle someone else and then come up with his butter knife and like slit the other one's throat, and they all like, I got my human sacrifice. I am the most elite of the elite. I got a human sacrifice. Satan will be pleased. And I'm just like, well, goddamn, you guys are fucked up. And all that chaos is happening, and I look at what's around me, and I'm looking at what I have to sacrifice, and I have got a small group of baked potatoes. And I'm like, man, these are some really good baked potatoes, and I'm very, very vegan in this dream. So this is like, I don't want to sacrifice these beautiful organic potatoes, but you know, this is a good sacrifice because I want this. It means a lot to me. This is a good sacrifice. So I choose one of the baked potatoes, and then I'm like, okay, come on, don't skip on your sacrifice. Give up your biggest, best potato. And I'm like, oh, fuck, all right. So I grab my biggest, best baked potato, and then, out of nowhere, appears a hard-boiled egg. Not just any hard-boiled egg, but a really big one. It was like that big. And it was pyramid-shaped. It was like this 3D pyramid shape, and it didn't have a point at the top. It was flat at the top. Kind of like the pyramids on the dollar bill, I guess. And I'm like, whoa, sweet. I only have one hard-boiled egg. This is a giant hard-boiled egg. This is going to make a badass sacrifice. So I take my potato, and I take my hard-boiled egg, and I trot over to Satan, and I'm like, okay, I got my sacrifice. Everyone had their sacrifice, at least the people that were still alive. And he looks at me, and he takes my potato. And he looks at it, and he takes my egg. Looks at it, and gives him back. And he has this big dagger. And he gives me the dagger so I can sacrifice my sacrifices. And I'm like, okay, shit, alright. And I stab the potato. And it's all tasty and potatoey looking inside. And I'm like, okay, cool, there's your potato sacrifice. And I have egg. And I stab the top of the egg. And it splits open and blood starts coming out of it. Blood, rich, red, thick, hot blood starts coming out from the top of where I stabbed it, just dripping over it, like a little egg blood volcano. And this big grin comes over Satan's face, and he's like, now that is a sacrifice. And he looks very pleased, and he looks around at everyone, and I don't remember the exact speech or the exact words he gave, but it went something like, you guys, you looked around and found the first person to sacrifice for you. And I see that these sacrifices weren't a true sacrifice. You don't care about people. All you care about is yourself. And in choosing your sacrifice, you chose your sacrifice basically out of ego. Basically, you were choosing these human sacrifices so you could have the biggest one. And since I know you don't care about human lives, you don't care about people, this is not a sacrifice to you, and I know it. In the chaos, people were like killing their wives and stuff for their human sacrifice, or their family, like who they came with. Everyone turned against everyone in that moment where he announced, "Oh, like, all right, time to get your sacrifice." All of a sudden, nobody cared about anyone. They were just like, fuck you, as long as I get my sacrifice so I can be the one with the best sacrifice. You're nothing to me all of a sudden. And that's what Satan spoke of. And trying to remember what happened next in the dream, but basically everyone was like, oh shit, our human sacrifices suck. I just killed my wife for no reason. And everyone was really pissed. And I don't know if he killed them all or what, but I was standing there with a bloody egg, feeling pretty good about my hard-boiled Satan sacrifice egg. It was awesome. Yeah, so that was my dream. More hard-boiled eggs from hell. This is the second time this week that I had dreams about hard-boiled eggs and hell. In my last dream about it, I killed the 7 popes of hell with tainted hard-boiled eggs. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. If you had any dreams, you should certainly tell me about them so I can obsess about more dreams. Brr, it's so cold. Okay, it's after breakfast nap time now.